经常一起去看电影或者看的时候，又是一个配音的，这个叫一个纳什宾。这是一个自然科学的结论，但是这个自然科学是就是两个人之间互相包容、互相理解、互相尊重，甚至互相让步。所以如果说原因家庭一些其实可以是这个模式。
Who goes there? That nightmare again. I need a drink. No. I want to know what Bradley and Dr. Colton have to say about all this.
You're awake, Mr. Pierce. How do you feel?
Did I sleep long?
The day is only starting. It's fine.
How's our fugitive? Dr. Fuller hasn't reported your disappearance to the force, but that'll come soon.
Bradley?
Who else would it be?
Mr. Pierce, are you all right? You look like you saw a ghost.
There are things I can't explain.
Tell us. What happened?
I have flashbacks. They haunt me.
What did they do to you?
There was that Dr. Fuller and a nurse. Blood everywhere. My legs. The pain. I couldn't bear it. I was screaming. They injected me with something. I woke up at the Institute. Bradley was there.
And how you scared us. You seemed demented.
You likely woke up during the anesthesia. No wonder those memories haunt you. What in God's name were they doing to you?
What happened afterwards?
When I woke up the second time, I was in a padded cell. That's where you found me, Doctor. After you released me, I got a good look at what's in store for the patients of the Riverside Institute. Hallucinogenic gas pumped into the cells. An infernal machine. Horrific medical experiments.
Impossible. Dr. Fuller would never do such a thing.
You should believe it, Ethan. What Mr. Pierce saw is precisely what I've been trying to prove. Did you discover anything else?
I met a Francis Sanders. Do you know him?
Of course. He's a patient. Or was. I haven't seen him since Dr. Fuller had him transferred to the basement.
He knew Sarah Hawkins. And that's what killed him.
What? How did he die?
I'm not sure I can explain it.
Tell me how Mr. Sanders died.
I didn't see blood, but something was there with us.
Of what do you speak?
Sanders said it was Sarah Hawkins, a visitor. He spoke of it like a living being.
Sarah Hawkins? Have I missed something here? This makes no sense. I don't see how it can help crack the Hawkins case.
You really think she's involved? How could she have murdered Mr. Sanders?
Francis Sanders mentioned Mrs. Hawkins just before dying. It's no coincidence.
You know, Francis Sanders was a well-known art collector. I guess you can still pay a visit to his wife, Irene Sanders.
An art collector, you say? That's probably how they met.
If you plan on having dinner at the Sanders household, please spare the widow the tale of her late husband's suffering.
I don't agree. She deserves the truth.
But that truth may be biased. We don't know the bottom of it.
You're right. Without a plausible explanation for what I saw, let's not jump to conclusions.
That seems wise indeed.
Very well. I'll go to see Francis's widow. Perhaps I'll find a link between her husband's death and Sarah Hawkins.
Don't end up in the hospital this time.
I'll do my best.
Let us go now and learn the truth about what's happening on this island.
What can I do for you, sir?
Mrs. Sanders? I'm a private detective. We must talk about your husband and his ties to Sarah Hawkins. Can I come in?
You may. However, before we go any further, please know that my husband died yesterday.
That is precisely what brings me here.
Well, well, look who's here. You know each other.
Our paths crossed, briefly. The brave detective has a talent for sticking his nose into my business.
I bump into her every time I'm investigating someone's death.
It's a small island, detective. My island. It's better that it's you bumping into me.
You're investigating Francis' death. Why? Who hired you?
I spoke to Francis before he died. His story suggests a link to a case I'm working on.
Well, since this business has got nothing to do with me, I'll be in your husband's office, Irene. We'll carry on later.
Very well, Miss Baker. This way, Mr. Pierce. And do make yourself comfortable. It would seem that you have much to tell me. May I inquire as to when you had the opportunity to talk to my husband?
Yesterday, I met him at the hospital. He spoke to me about Sarah Hawkins.
Oh, of course he spoke to you about her. That's all he talked about. Sarah Hawkins and her paintings. Please forgive my tone. The fact is that I have not been allowed to see him since he was interned. You, on the other hand, a perfect stranger, were able to see him and even talk with him the day he died. How was he? Were you present when he had this attack? What happened?
What happened to your husband is terrible, Mrs. Sanders. But from what I saw, it was inevitable. The man I met yesterday had lost his reason. He suffers no longer, if you would allow me such a platitude.
Of course. Thank you for your kind words. Nobody in that hospital would have deigned to speak them to me. However, it will require more than that to soothe my mind. I need to understand. How could this happen? In a reputed institute? And right before your eyes. Did you not do anything to help him?
Mrs. Sanders, I understand your grief, and I extend my deepest condolences to you. But I had nothing to do with the death of your husband. I've just arrived on Darkwater. I'm investigating the death of the Hawkins family.
The death of the Hawkins family? You mean it was not an accident? This accursed island knows only tragedy after tragedy. You too would be advised to flee it like the plague. Oh, I'm tired, Mr. Pierce. I would be grateful if you could tell me what you expect of me, and then leave.
Did your husband talk to you about Sarah Hawkins' visitor? A shambler, to use his precise terms.
Well, you can imagine that's all he talked about. It's exhibited at the center of the gallery. No better place for the painting that endowed him with the privilege of such a shameful and miserable end to his life.
Hold on. The Shambler is a painting by Sarah Hawkins.
Who else to paint such horrors? Take a look for yourself, if you feel so inclined.
It is my only lead at this stage. I suppose I have nothing to lose.
Then you have paid no heed. For my part, I refuse to set foot in that gallery again. But if you're so eager to see it, I would urge you to make the most of your visit. Because I count on ridding myself of that thing as soon as I can.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanders. I won't be long. The day the Shambler came into the Sanders' lives. A house of artists. Frances Sanders and Sarah Hawkins were close. Friends, even? Sanders' accession register. He wrote beside the Shambler. Finally. What did Sarah Hawkins fear so much that she didn't want to sell the painting? He finally won. Was Sanders aware of his imminent doom? Was she jealous of Sarah Hawkins? She first refused to sell the painting. How did that make her feel? The Shambler. I need to see it. Did she really care for him after all? Let's see what this cylinder has to say once it's inserted in a phonograph.
Irene, I made a mistake. I fear that it might be too late for me. Nobody should answer, except to burn everything. I never had the courage. Pay somebody to do it. He's inside my head. I see him behind my eyelids each time I shut my eyes. I can't take anymore. I can't hold him back. Forgive me.
That accursed gallery. Those accursed paintings. That accursed Sarah.
I could use one of those. Strange. For months, Sarah Hawkins refused to part with her painting, to finally give it away for nothing. Another volume of the Reverend's wife's diary.
That's twice you've stepped on my toes, Detective. Try not to make a habit of it.
I've got a lot of bad habits.
Some can be more fatal than others. What have you come looking for in this gallery?
I have a well-off client in Boston who heard about the death of Francis Sanders and wanted me to size up his estate before making an offer to his widow.
Nice story. Bad lie. Learn how to dupe, Detective. But as long as you keep out of my way, you're free to carry on with your visit.
And you? What brings you to the Sanders home?
I'm here on business. Irene asked me to liquidate all these paintings. She doesn't intend to hang around here for long.
Why you?
Believe it or not, there aren't many collectors on Darkwater. It needs someone with a network, and a means of transport to the mainland. A choice that comes down to Fitzroy and me. And I'm far more pleasant, wouldn't you say?
These artifacts date from pre-Columbian times. The man transformed an entire wing of his manor into an art gallery. The public entrance to the gallery. Why was he so interested in old weapons?
Hung quỷ.
What the hell was that?
Hung quỷ. 就係佢殺咗我。真係唔可以望佢喎，望佢就死得㗎咯。
What the hell was that?
你重新間啊，真係。
I can't even touch it. That thing came out of this painting. There has to be a link. What the hell was that?
What the hell is that?
Damn. Maybe I can use this dagger.
Đây là bạn xí.
Damn it. This dagger didn't work.
Được chứ phát.
Damn it. I have to use a specific dagger.
Bà. Đi bà đi nào. Xe không phải. Không phải. Đó. Wow, quá nhẹ.
That thing came out of this painting. There has to be a link. Maybe if I destroy it.
Biết bà. Bị sai cứ gom sai anh. Phải thực hiện thôi.
This might be able to lift the curse on the painting.
Đi bà. Biết hay luôn.
You sure you won't be needing that hand? You're losing it, Detective. At this rate, you're right. The bottle will get you before I do.
You didn't see anything.
I saw you within an inch of putting a dagger through your forearm. Did I miss something more interesting?
I was attacked by a creature. I pushed it back, I think.
I think so too.
I ran, screamed, broke a pane of glass. You were in the next room and you didn't hear a thing.
If I hadn't heard a thing, I'd still be in the other room. The door was blocked. I got in as soon as I could. I like to look after my goods.
You mean me?
Don't flatter yourself, sweetheart. I'm talking about the contents of this gallery. And by the way, where do you think you're going with that dagger?
It saved my life. It's an extraordinary dagger.
You should talk to Algernon Drake. He's an antique dealer here on Darkwater. He'll tell you all about it. From what I saw in the ledgers, it was him who sold it to Sanders.
It's not your style to give me free information like that.
Take it as payment for being my canary. A simple trade-off. Now go see your antique seller. I still got things to settle with Irene.
步入瘋狂。有人做一步過嚟落手。
Where's the bookseller? Another volume of the Reverend's wife's diary. What happened here? Let's start over. Where did they break in from? Blood. Seems like amateur work. Someone tall left this footprint. A man, probably. This burglar seems to be rather clumsy.
裸女。
What happened that made the burglar flee before finishing his work? What sort of thief leaves his tools at the crime scene? What killed all these animals?
哇，咁多曱甴同老鼠。
What the? Charles Hawkins? What's happening to Hawkins? What sort of power did Sarah Hawkins' painting possess? Sarah Hawkins helped hide something in this safe. Drake put in a great deal of effort to hide whatever is in here. Everything is linked to the Sarah Hawkins case. Drake left instructions on how to find the combination of his safe. Is everyone on this island taking sleeping pills? What link did he find between Charles Hawkins and an old amulet? Arkham editions. Never heard of them. How many volumes are there in this collection? Another volume by Arkham Editions. Arkham Editions. Never heard of them. Things are not looking good. A kind of chalice. Cylinders that Drake tried to hide. I should perhaps listen to them. How many volumes are there in this collection? Another volume by Arkham Editions. Arkham Editions. Never heard of them. How many volumes are there in this collection? Another volume by Arkham Editions. Arkham Editions. Never heard of them.
And these red rocks, like precious stones, lie fixed, set in divine gold. To be the guardian of the Grail does not protect me from its attractions, Henry. And I do confess it. I am willing to pay to know its secrets. I finally understood that we were only pieces on the chessboard of the gods. Let those of us who are still standing protect our White Queen from their dark soldiers. I see our number dwindling, and my will strengthens as my apprehension grows. We shall refuse to be the playthings of destiny. Dear friend, I thank you again for the anthology of the works of Arkham editions that you sent me. Volume 9, Azathoth and Other Horrors, seemed particularly relevant to my research. I never tire of browsing through them.
The Queen has little protection.
And these red rocks, like precious stones, lie fixed, set in divine gold. To be the guardian of the Grail does not protect me from its attractions, Henry. And I do confess it.
The chalice of knowledge.
I am willing to pay to know its secrets.
What did Drake say about this collection? Drake talked about a particular volume. So these are the volumes that Drake was talking about in his message. What did Drake say about this collection? Drake talked about a particular volume. So these are the volumes that Drake was What did Drake say about this collection? Drake talked about a particular volume. So these are the volumes that What did Drake say about this collection? Drake talked about a particular volume. So these are the volumes that Drake was talking about in his message. The Queen has little protection. The chalice of knowledge.
And these red rocks, like precious stones, lie fixed, set in divine gold. To be the guardian of the Grail does not protect me from its attractions, Henry. And I do confess it. And these red rocks, like precious stones lie fixed, set in divine gold. To be the guardian of the Grail does not protect me from its attractions, Henry. And I do confess I finally understood that we were only pieces on the chessboard of the gods. Let those of us who are still standing protect our White Queen from their dark soldiers. I see our number dwindling, and my will strengthens as my apprehension grows. I finally understood that we were only pieces on the chessboard of the gods. Let those of us who are still dear friend, I thank you again for the anthology of the works of Arkham editions that you sent me. Volume 9, Azeroth and Other Horrors, seems particularly relevant to my research. I never tire of browsing through them.
我认为你和我才是在一起路走到老。你不用回去的。回去以后，我们俩每天跟饭嘛，堂堂正正的过日子，好吗？
What did Drake say about this? Drake talked about a particular. So these are the volumes that. What did Drake say about this collection? Drake talked about a particular. So these are the volumes that Drake was. What did Drake say about this? Drake talked about a particular volume. So these are the volumes that Drake was talking about in his message.
他总是以各种不同的理由搪塞我，说什么我们到了我们这个年纪，如果结婚的话，今后一旦扯起皮来，就要涉及到什么财产啊、经济方面的问题，会很麻烦的，所以就一直拖到了现在。 在我的意识当中，我觉得我这么的对他这么的好，我们之间的感情基础是很牢固的，不会有什么结未生枝的问题。对啊，哪想到真的出问题了，找了一个比他小20多岁的小女孩。
你是怎么知道这个？
而家呢個年代，
之前我还不太注意这个事，前段时间嘛，跟以前就不一样了。 他老是说他工作忙，却在单位上加班，很晚才回家。偶尔隔三差五的这个单位派他到外地去出差，几天的不回家。我觉得不对呀，这也是不一样的，有些不对劲儿了。
การพอทีมเซ
What did Drake say about this collection?
那个手机上面就有一个女人，她发了很多的短信，那些内容真的是很肉麻的，我就说不出口来的。 在我不停的逼问之下，他就给我摊牌了，承认了有这么一个。
他已经给你摊牌了哈，他跟这个年轻的女孩在一起多长时间了？那你现在面对这个事情，你是怎么看的？你怎么想这个问题？怎么解决？
他找这么小的女孩怎么能够？他就是一个地道的第三者。
你觉得这个年轻的女孩破坏了你的老高的感情？
对。
好，关于和你是有关的这个第三者，知道你要来上课，他主动找到了我们，他说他有话要说，我让他说。
这何人的所言？是一个捕捉者反差和高旭东的感情。让人意外的是，就在录影前一天，他口中的第三者主动找到了杰伦。他的目的究竟是什么？到底他们三人有着怎样多重复杂的关系？
我知道，那个大姐是对我们家老高还很照顾的，所以我这个事情我还一直很大方面去谢谢他们。可是不知道为什么，他非要说老高是他的男朋友，这点搞得我和我们家老高都很莫名其妙的。就是他这次都已经弄到你们男位置去了，我就觉得真的太过分了。老高这个人心里比较善良，他可能在那么多人的面前会有一些拒绝他。可是他既然要这样，我觉得我也没必要心慈手软的这样对他。
听到自己的男友竟然变成了别人口中的我的家老高，何瑞芬现场几近崩溃。
明明是我的老高，我是他的老高啊！
ใช่เข้าใจ
这都不要脸的女人吗？
The chalice of knowledge.
生气是他们，你们家老高变成他们家老高了啊！
怎么这么厚颜无耻啊？他明明知道人家有个好朋友。 虽然没已经是属于事实婚姻了，虽然没扯结婚，但是已经在一起居了5年了。他算什么呀？
好，这个何女士提到了一个事实婚姻，我来问一下张律师，这个
The Queen has little protection.
她跟老高的这段关系，国家法律现在不只所谓事实婚姻，从1994年2月1日。
And these red rocks, like precious stones, lie fixed, set in divine gold. To be the guardian of the Grail does not protect me from its attractions, Henry. And I do confess it. I am willing to pay to know its secret. I finally understood that we were only pieces on the chessboard of the gods. Let those of us who are still standing protect our White Queen from their dark soldiers. I see our number dwindling, and my will strengthens as my apprehension grows. We shall refuse to be the playthings of destiny. Dear friend, I thank you again for the anthology of the works of Arkham editions that you sent me. Volume 9, Azathoth and Other Horrors, seems particularly relevant to my research. I never tire of browsing through them.
好的，谢谢大家发表的观点。其实无论是站在老高这一方，还是站在何女士这一方，相信每个人都有他不同的角度。关于这位老高究竟是何方神圣啊，我们一起来认识一下。
真係唔生搞。
在温饱的肚子得到了一根号受什么施展的仪器。所以，为什么说关系是2个人的？当男人改变了他的状态，女人就必须改变他的状态。
这个我觉得很需要。拥有一个如此天貌的小女人，并且呢，又能够给她带来这么多快乐的小女人，不担心和她争宠。
有你。
你现在同时在跟2位女性保持着亲密的关系，可以这么说。
我还是有自己的难言之隐。比如说那个他那个瑞芬的确对我付出很多。比如说他为了跟我在一起，把婚都离了，然后就把很多关系帮我
投射到另一具身體中，就不發精神病院。
过度的关心我，或者是在乎我，使我完全没有家人给我的温暖的感觉。
那你需要什么？
我
需要在家里还需要什么？
我是需要一个人生活在一个空间要有自由。
你所要的自由是一个什么样的自由？
懒人吃嫩菜吗？
就是说自由的话，大家互相都不干预自己的，就是说私生活嘛。但是我认为2个互相都不干预，至少不要这种越轨就行了，或者说不要找第三者那种。
那你有没有越轨？
我越轨完全是他逼的。
我现在给您总结一下，实际上您所谓何大姐的过错，很多都是由于您自己造成的。而你想要的自由，其实就是见异思迁的自由，始乱终弃。何姐，那个老高刚刚一直在抱怨一个非常核心的点，就是你老管着他，所以说不能管呀。你看不管还好，一管出问题来了吧？但是究竟是因为你管了才有莹莹的出现，还是因为有了莹莹的出现才让老高特别反感你管他？这个事情谁也说不清楚啊。老高啊，老高，谈谈吧，你跟莹莹，你们平常都干点什么呢？
比如说出去旅游啊，其他看看电影啦，出去爬下山呐，出去玩这些。
你怎么去计划你跟莹莹的这段恋爱走向何方呢？
我是这样想的。
Dr. Colden, this man's condition is deteriorating.
What's his Dr. Fuller? It's his patient, after all.
He's busy with Captain Fitzroy. He specifically asked us not to bother him when that's the case.
Oh, of course. I'll see what I can do. Mr. Blake, can you hear me? I'm Dr. Colden. We'll take care of you.
There's nothing we can do. I tried talking to him. He's catatonic.
變咗個女人我聽。
What can you tell me about him?
He was highly agitated an hour ago. We were about to tie him down when he fell asleep. 10 minutes ago, he curled up into a fetal position. I thought he was waking up, but no.
Show me his file.
That's not possible.
Don't tell me Dr. Fuller has taken this file as well. We need it.
That's why I called you. This man's ailment has been hidden from us.
Come on now. What was he treated for?
An intoxication, I was told. After inhaling chemicals.
What are his symptoms?
His temperature has been going down. His skin losing its color. His body rigid. I closed his eyes myself. They were glassing over. I didn't want them to dry out. And I couldn't bear to look at the expression on his face.
You did well. Don't worry. Let's stay professional, if you will. I don't recognize him. Did he just arrive on the island?
He said he worked on the docks, but not with Captain Fitzroy. I think he works for Miss Baker. Who? You know, the woman at the head of their gang. They call her Cat.
Oh, I see.
Do you have other questions?
That'll do for the time being.
Any idea what this man might be undergoing?
Very well. I'll examine him. 30-year-old subject. Severe hypothermia. Erythematous papules around the eyes and eardrums. Necrosed palpebral tissue. Lord, this smell. Severe malnutrition. Swollen abdomen with traces of petechia. Doesn't seem like an edema. Slight protuberances seem to indicate the presence of a foreign body. His skin shows abnormal loss of color and seems dried out. He's totally dehydrated. His fingertips and toes seem to feature a slight ring under the skin. Tender at the touch. Slightly sticky.
So, Doctor, an opinion?
I'm not sure I have the necessary knowledge to treat this man.
Don't say that. You're our most worthy doctor after Dr. Fuller.
Some of his symptoms are beyond my comprehension.
What did you find?
Did you examine his abdomen? It would seem there's something inside.
He hasn't eaten in days. Are you certain it's not an edema?
No. Can't you recognize an edema? Pushing with your finger won't leave a trace. And look at these bumps.
It's not like he could be pregnant.
Whatever it is, this man has something inside him that shouldn't be there. We should operate on him at once.
Dr. Fuller said not to worry, that the edema would go away by itself.
You know, I'm not sure Dr. Fuller is telling the truth. In spite of the muscle contractions, his arms seem limp.
Yes. They can't have decalcified, not at this rate.
And yet, if there is a bone in this arm, it's softer than that of a newborn baby. What about his cranium?
It's soft at the touch. It does seem like the skull of a baby.
Look at these sticky rings growing at his fingertips. What can be happening?
I'm sure you'll find an explanation. You have to.
I see signs of hypodermoclysis, but he's still dehydrated. When was his last IV?
He's constantly under perfusion. I've even gone beyond the recommended dose to no avail. And you won't believe me, but when we bathed him earlier...
He seemed to feel better?
Yes. Like he needs an aquarium, not a perfusion. But that doesn't explain his condition.
I almost don't believe it myself, but these symptoms are not those usually associated with the human species.
What do you mean? Don't tell me you believe in extraterrestrials.
No. This poor man is from our world, all right. But his body is undergoing unnatural mutations. And this transformation is killing him. His body simply can't cope.
Where could he have gotten such an infection?
I pray that it's not here.
Dr. Coleman, may I know what you're doing to my patient?
What I'm doing? How about what you've done to him?
Let us calm down, my dear Marie. I don't appreciate your tone, nor your insinuations. I've done to him what I do to all my patients. Provide him with the best available care.
Your imagination is without limit. It's your homemade drug again, is it not? Those people are not your guinea pigs.
There, there. What have you seen to put you in such a state?
I've seen suction cups on his fingers, his falling body temperature, his dehydration. Had I only read the report, you know what I would have concluded, Doctor.
Do I? Tell me anyway. I'm curious.
He's no longer human. These are the attributes of an animal.
Fascinating. An animal, you say? Could you be more precise? Cephalopod, perhaps?
This amuses you.
Your reaction does. I know your thirst for knowledge, Doctor. It's your innocent worries for this man that have you overreacting.
For this man, and the others whose medical files you've been hiding.
I have to protect my discovery. These people owe me their life, but the world isn't ready yet. It will be, in time.
I will not let you do this.
You disappoint me, Marie, but I still have hope you'll one day share my point of view. In the meantime, take care of your own patients and try not to forget who you're dealing with.
Was that a threat? What did he mean?
It was a warning. Dr. Fuller is this institution's founder and one of our profession's most influential voices. My word is of no weight against his. If I continue to protest, I will only ruin my reputation and career.
It's scandalous. Can't we do anything? Is there no evidence of his crimes?
Oh, that evidence exists. I'm sure of it. I need to find the missing medical files.
And where would you find those? In his office? What if you get caught?
I'd rather not think about that. I'm counting on your discretion.
Of course, Doctor. You can count on me. I'll keep mum.
玩住咁多先。